Welcome to the Sportswire Spotlight. I'm Will Catterley. Joining me, as always, Dylan Garner. Dylan, what is up, man?
I'm doing well. We are here at Highland Springs High School to talk some spring sports, kind of a little bit of everything. But right before graduation hits, we got some fun stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, jack of all trades joining us. Christian Bolar, multi-sport athlete, part of the Advanced College Academy for Business, National Honor Society, and he's already a successful music artist himself. Appreciate you being part of the Sportswire Spotlight here.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here, man. I'm super excited.
So it begs the question. You do so much. Football, you move from quarterback to wide receiver. You've played basketball. You're currently playing baseball. You're currently doing track. But you're also so talented in the music industry. So the question really is, are you an athlete who also sings, or are you a gifted music artist who happens to play sports?
I would have to say the second one for sure. Definitely a gifted music artist who has just has the ability and the gifted talent to play sports. I've been singing since about the age of 5, maybe, like going around churches and singing at different events, things like that. But I come from a long line of musicians. Like my mom's a singer, my great granddad was a singer, my great great granddad was a singer. So it's definitely in the blood. But I started doing sports, I think, around 7 years old. So that's definitely been something I've done for a long time. But I would definitely say singer than athlete for sure.
And we wanted to ask, that's a great way of describing it, the family dynamic. Getting into both of those so early. Have you always had those two passions? Has that just been like a thing for you basically since a child, these two kind of great passions of yours of athletics and music?
So, like I said, my mom was a singer, but my dad was a football player. So my dad is from Picayune, Mississippi, a small town in Mississippi, but he played football there, and then he transferred and came to Virginia State and played linebacker and then coached at Virginia State. So that's where I kind of get the football things from, and the basketball, the sports and things like that. So he's always been my personal trainer, my guy who I kind of go with to lift and work out and things like that. So I've definitely always kind of had a balance, mom doing the music, dad doing the sports. So it's definitely always been kind of like a balance, just having both things in the back burner and being able to do both at the same time.
I was going to say, it sounds more like a family tug of war. Mom wants you to do one thing, dad wants you to do the other. Like, is it at the dinner table? They're like, no, you should do more sports. No, you should do more music.
Yeah, my parents, they do a great job of just helping me out in decision making and everything that I do, even with college coming up and things like that. But my parents have always been my best support. So they kind of we make it a good balance, and it's sometimes it's kind of hard with I may have a football game this day, but I also got to sing somewhere this day. So it's also about prioritizing certain things and just making sure that I make the best decision and do the best thing that'll help me out.
And for people who don't realize at home, we're not just talking to somebody who plays a bunch of sports and is successful there and likes to sing. You've had 3 albums. You've produced 3 albums. You've performed at Convocation. You've performed at Graduation.
So that's when you came on our radar, is when I see you at these events and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's solos that are literally bringing the house down from every staff member and all these graduates and all these, the Becoming Kings graduations and all these events where it's just like, oh my, everyone in the room, So it was definitely one that we wanted to get, some time to talk to you about it because it's so stunning. But you mentioned the albums, and when did you start recording those? And when did that become it's not just a hobby. This is actually almost a career path already.
So I've gone ever since I've learned how to play the piano, the drums, the guitar, and sing. I went to a music school called BJ Music School. That's also where I teach now. So I teach piano
there you go.
And drums there and voice. So that's where I kind of learned all of my gifts. But the CEO, Mr. Brandon Anderson, he's been my manager and still is my manager to this day. So he kind of pushed me out there as far as the recording thing. He has his own group and he has his own solo career in the gospel world. But me and my father came to him. We were just like, hey, we want to get into, the recording, the business side of music and things like that. Because it was always, I just sing at a church, I go sing at a certain wedding or a certain event. But it was like, I don't have my own thing to do. So I think when I started seeing people have their own thing, I was like, hey, how would it be if I had that for myself? So I think I recorded my first single at 11 years old. And then I published it around maybe 12 years old, and that's when I got nominated for my first Stellar Award. And that was just a huge accomplishment for me. It definitely showed that your hard work will pay off if you have the determination and the will and the support to do those things. So it was definitely a big accomplishment for me. But that's when I kind of knew hey, this is definitely something that I can do and not just something that I do on the side.
It's a real deal.
Well, what's the award process like?
So it's definitely a crazy process. So first you have to have So my manager was also a member of the Stellar Awards. I keep throwing that name out there. The Stellar Awards is basically like the BET Awards or the Grammy Awards. It's just for gospel music. So it's the biggest gospel
really
stage, the biggest place where you can be nominated or like awarded for an award. So my manager, like I said, he's previously been in a lot of, music and things like that. So he knew people in the Stellar Awards. So, he put my name out there. He said, hey, y'all check out this little 11-year-old from Richmond, Virginia. Yeah. So threw my name in there, and it was about 3 different rounds. You have like a preliminary, oh my goodness.
Preliminary
round.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
I'm there with you.
So we have that round at first. Then we have it's like 3 rounds you go through. Some of them are private, some of them are public. But it's really just about getting on social media, putting yourself out there, being like, hey, vote for me, please go on this website, vote for me. So that was definitely always a challenge for me as far as, like putting myself out there. Cause of course, being a high schooler and, even when I was in middle school, it was like, hey, like you sing gospel music. So it was definitely at times a challenge for me to be able to just, put my name out there and tell people like, yeah, I sing, I do this, that, and third. Because like you guys said, y'all didn't really hear about me until I sung at Convocation.
Right.
So it's like a lot of people didn't know that until I sing, actually. Yeah. So it's like a lot of times that was definitely hard for me. But it's been a real challenge and definitely something I've overcame these past 4 years being in high school.
What was it about? Why gospel for the genre?
Right.
And what made it kind of stick? Was there a moment where you're like, I can do this. This is me. Like this is my future, and I'm dang good at this.
Right. So of course I've grown up in church, like I said, singing at churches all my life. But my dad always told me this because I've been in so many interviews and they always ask me, why gospel? And I say why not? It's definitely a thing where like my dad always tells me gospel music will stay around for kind of the longest because there's scripture in all of the songs that you sing. So that's something that I really try to live by in everything that I sing, even if it's not, gospel, if I'm singing R&B, if I'm singing a John Legend song, like I still try to, think like all of these things that I'm singing, I got this gift from God, so I need to give it back to him. So in everything I do, that's kind of why I sing gospel and why I try to, stay on that lane, even when I do sing different songs and things like that.
This may seem like a dumb question, but I bet everybody at home is wondering, how do you create an album?
So, of course, the album is just a bunch of songs put together. Right. But I think my first album that I created, you kind of go into it with a plan. So everything, of course, you have a team. So my production team was included a lot of people. So people that are like really big names. So like we had to fly out a lot of producers, a lot of background singers, things like that. But I think I was in the studio for maybe a week, like nonstop. So this was in the summer. So it was like literally wake up, studio. Sometimes I'm not leaving till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. So it was definitely a tough process for me my first time, but once you get used to it, it's really fun. And really, I think the biggest thing that's fun for me is seeing the outcome. You see how all of this thing just starts from, maybe pen to paper or a thought, and you see how it comes to fruition and how you post everything and how you just see people kind of gravitate towards what you created, and it really makes you feel good. But the album process is really, it's something you can go on and on about. Like it's such a thorough and like a really long process that you really get into. But to sum it up, it's just a big team coming together, making a lot of songs and putting them together to make something great.
And what was it like? I think, this type of stuff receives play on gospel radio and things like that. What was the first time, either when you were 11 or, even these other kind of cycles you've had whenever it's most relevant? What was it like hearing your song like play on the radio for the first time, or someone, or even someone playing it back once the record was done? Like, what was that experience like?
It's definitely surreal. I can definitely go back to the first time I heard it. I think I was in the car with my parents, and we were literally just listening to the radio like randomly, like the station we always listen to. And my song came on. And my mom was like, Christian, pull out your phone. I'm trying to, live in the moment. I'm like, Mom, let me listen.
Don't
like,
spoil it.
Pull out your phone. Record. So that was definitely a huge moment for me. And like I said, it definitely just showed me that my hard work definitely did pay off. And it showed that, like I could really do this. And like that, like being able to be played on the radio is like nothing like small. Like that's something really big, because that's like how you get your money, like with Sound Exchange and everything that's going on in the music world. Like being on the radio is a really big deal. So when that first check came from the radio, it was like, man, like this is something I definitely, and it wasn't just like real. A job. Like this is something that I enjoy doing and I get paid for it. So it was definitely something that was really fun.
Yeah, before we go too far down the rabbit hole, we keep hearing more and more about music. Maybe we should hear a little bit. Here's you performing Convocation earlier this year. It's kind of a pep rally for all of Henrico County schools. Let's take a listen.
We've got a good thing going whenever life is hard. We'll never lose our way, 'cause we both know who we are. And who knows about tomorrow? We don't know what's in the stars. I just know I'll always follow the light in your heart. So I'm not worried about us, and I never been, 'cause we know how the story ends. We will never break, no, we will never break, 'cause we're built on a foundation, and we're strong enough to stay, and we will never break. And as the water says, and the mountains shake, our love will remain. We will never, no, never.
So we've talked about these amazing performances like Convocation. We talked about Graduation. We've seen that Convocation performance too, which still like it's even on camera. It's like awesome.
Thank you so much.
We talked about growing up in churches performing, right? And we wanted to balance that dynamic of like, what's it like performing, you know, with a chorus or as a solo artist or whatever in these environments. And then you're on the baseball diamond, right? You're at the plate, you're in the outfield, you're playing wide receiver, whatever it might be. Can you balance the differences and maybe, you know, compare the two of what that is like and the different stages and spotlights you're on?
Yeah, so I can. It's crazy you asked that. I remember they asked that out there with the football interview, but first I would say the similarities. The similarities I would definitely say is, you know, the team aspect. Of course, everything you do is team related in sports and things like that. So, you know, being in the choir, of course, that's a team too, because we all have to sing on one accord. We all have to sound great. We all have to blend together. So if one person is sounding off, then it's like, hey, like, who is that? Let's fix that. And I can relate to the same thing on the field. Like I remember Coach Jay, one thing that always sticks out to me football wise, he would say, do your 111. Yeah. So of course there's 11 men on the field, but you have to do your job. So I feel like that can correlate with everything, like not even just music, like jobs or anything that you're doing with the team. You have to make sure you do your part, not trying to do too much, not trying to do too little. So that's one thing I would say is a similarity. Some things I would say that contrast is definitely, of course, different environments, you know, going from baseball to football to music to track. So I would say something that's different would be just the different friend groups you have. I really enjoy, you know, going from, you know, maybe football practice to choir practice is just sometimes a relief. And it's like, man, like I just saw my friends here at football practice. Now I get to go see my other friends at track. Now I get to go see my other friends at baseball. So I think one thing for me that I love kind of flip-flopping and doing is that you get to connect with so many people. And I think that's a really big thing, especially in the music industry. You know, connections is everything. So the more people you know, the more opportunities you have. So
you know more people that way. And again, there's only 24 hours in a day. So I do want to ask you about how the heck do you find time for everything? But were your teammates the toughest crowd to perform in front of?
Definitely. So I remember my first time performing here. It was for I think it was a Christmas concert, and it was in the auditorium. And when I tell you I went in there, I was so nervous. I went up there and I just looked and I just saw straight basketball, football team. And of course, yeah, exactly. And of course, everyone's gonna cheer for you and things like that. But it's like once it's time to sing, like their eyes are locked and their ears are listening. So it was definitely a surreal moment after, you know, I did pretty well, I think, always trying to critique myself. But after just hearing everybody clap and hearing everybody just scream like and just cheer for you is definitely a big thing, and it makes you feel better. And that's one thing I hope, like I know I was talking about like the challenge earlier of like putting yourself out there, but that's one thing that helped me. Like when your friends are, you know, accepting you and you know, like saying like, man, you sound good, things like that. Like that definitely makes you feel good and makes you want to do it more.
What do you think is the highest pressure situation you found yourself in? This could be sports, music, whatever it is. What do you think is like in, you know, because obviously you're in these environments so often, but is there one that you can point to where this is the biggest it maybe not most as far as like the people in the stands, right? But like the most stressful situation I've been in that you had to come through either as a vocalist or a musician or a football player, baseball player, whatever it might be.
I can definitely relate to a Verona game we played. I feel like those are always going to be the most, the biggest moments and the most, moments with the most pressure. But I can think back to my sophomore year. We were playing here, and I think it was maybe a tie game or something like that, but we needed to score. And we were like on the 40-yard line, and I was at quarterback. And I called the play. It was a deep ball to one of my friends. And when I tell you, I just caught the ball, and I just gave him a chance. And when he caught the ball and he scored a touchdown, I can remember, I can remember it so vividly. I like jumped up, and I was like so excited because that was something that was like really big. Like, of course, like scoring a touchdown is a fun thing in itself.
Heck
but
yeah.
against Verona on your home field, last game of the season, and like it's for all the marbles, like that just makes it 10 times more better and just makes it a great feeling for your team when you guys celebrate and things like that.
We've heard it so much on each side too. The Highland Springs Ryan dynamic always comes up, and it's great to hear about every time just because those games are always so amazing.
Absolutely. Now, you've done so much. It's not just your voice, but first question is, when you heard your voice the first time, were you like, that sounds weird? Or did you have to develop it a little bit?
So I've been singing since I was about maybe like literally like 1 year old. So I would say the biggest challenge for me vocal-wise was having my voice change and mature. Like, of course, like it's still maturing now, but as you go through, like puberty and things like that, like your voice is gonna change. So it's sometimes where I was like, hey, like last week I could hit this note, and now it's like, what the world was going on?
Right.
Like, I can't do that. So it was definitely a tough process for me as far as just being able to adjust and do things like that. But it was definitely a big challenge at one point, trying to find my voice and things like that.
So you talked about football, and we're doing this balancing act between sports and music. Favorite sport, favorite music. You have a favorite musician?
Favorite sport, I would have to say definitely football. That's something I've done the longest. Favorite musician, I would say
maybe someone who inspires your music too. Who knows? One
person I say that inspires me would probably be Jonathan McReynolds. He's a person in the gospel industry that is just really big, and he has a lot of hit records on the gospel side. But on the like just in the world and things like that, I would probably say John Legend. Like, of course, I've sung a lot of his songs.
Everybody knows that guy, yeah.
But yeah, so it's like so many times I'll hear John Legend's voice in a song that's not his. And it's like, man, like you can definitely tell it's John Legend. You can tell by the way he sings, the way he sounds. So that's definitely somebody that I look up to. And I've sung tons of John Legend covers and things like that. Like, of course, Never Break and things like that. But yeah, John Legend is definitely a big guy. I'd love to meet him one day, but he's definitely somebody I look up to and try to glean from.
Lots of people, well, not lots of people, but many people who sing professionally do a great job, but they don't necessarily play instruments.
Right.
You mentioned it at the get-go. You talked about the piano. You talked about drums. You just went through this whole litany of instruments that you played. Number one, what's your favorite instrument? And number two, is it true about the rumor that if you can play piano, you can basically do anything?
That's definitely, it has some truth to it. So I would definitely say, so at first my favorite will always be the drums. Like I was a little kid. I always had drumsticks in my hand, was always trying to find somewhere to play. But now I would say the easiest for me would probably be piano. And as to your second question about if you can play piano, you can play anything. To an extent, yes, because the piano, everything falls back to the piano. So you can always, like, even if I'm a bass player or a guitar player, sometimes you see them with pianos on the side or things like that. So definitely playing the piano helps you in a lot of other fields. But I definitely also enjoy, the difference between them. So, like, playing the piano, of course, I'm using my hands and things like that. But when I'm playing the drums, I'm not really using my hands. I'm using my whole body. I'm using my arms, my legs. Playing the guitar, you're using your fingers too. But it's also like different things that you're doing with certain things. So I definitely enjoy the differences between all of them. But also it helps to, play a lot of things. So it kind of, like, hey, this is the same as this or this is the same as that. So it definitely helps in that aspect.
It was fun watching you. You put this on your Instagram. Speaking of piano, I mean, keyboard's a little different, but same thing.
Right.
But I saw on your Instagram, you're playing the musical accompaniment to The Wiz for musical theater.
Mr. Yonkers gave us a heads up on that. I was like, really? That sounds crazy.
Told us about that.
Yeah.
Normally you have teachers pulling that kind of work. What was that like?
So The Wiz was definitely a great experience for me. It was definitely something that challenged me as well because, I think it was about 33 songs in the score. So as a musician, that's a lot of things to play and a lot of things to read. And so that was definitely a big challenge for me as far as, reading and just, playing with an orchestra. Like Miss Yonkers did a great job. Miss Mitchell did a great job of just getting us all together and getting us, play on one accord. Of course, we had mess ups and stuff like that, but we're human, so everyone will mess up. But that whiz, like, even with us being rivals, Highland Springs and Verona, we did a great job. Like I really enjoyed myself, and that's something I also want to get into, like Broadway. Like being a pit musician or also being a singer. So just being able to have that experience playing on like a Broadway stage basically, and being in that environment was definitely surreal and really exciting for me.
You're already like diversifying the things you're doing within music, right? You're not just singing, you're not just recording, you're doing guitar, you're doing drums and all this stuff. And I'm glad you brought up Mr. Yonkers and Miss Mitchell, because that was another question I had, kind of the dynamics of the sports and music you have. What's it like learning from someone like Miss Mitchell, who's working on these like very big productions, chorus productions, versus Coach Johnson or any of your other coaches that you worked with?
Right.
Are those dynamics similar, or like, and what are your relationships like with them, and how do they how are they similar? How are they different?
Right. So I feel like I work with the best of the best. Like you
got a lot of good ones here.
Right.
Yeah.
So Miss Mitchell has definitely been a huge advocate for me and always has put me in the best positions to succeed. But the way Miss Mitchell can just like put a song together or kind of tweak a song like different than how you've heard it or arrange it is so amazing to me. And at graduation, like what we have coming up for graduation, I'm so excited for, because it's something that I've never heard before and something that has never been done before. So I'm really excited to see how that comes up for graduation. And also Coach Jay, like I've been with him for 4 years now. So being a quarterback, of course, like you really get it tough. Like I can remember being a backup and watching him just like go in on Christian. I feel like it's definitely a love relationship with Coach Jay, because he loves on you so much, but at the same time he wants the best for you. So sometimes it's not going to be the nicest way too.
It's gonna be tough love.
Yeah, right. It's definitely gonna be tough love. So I feel like Coach Jay is an amazing coach, and he's done so much for me, not even just on the football aspect, but just in life. He's gave us tons of life lessons and just made it a really fun experience to be a Springer here and play football.
You say a ton of great things about the administration here, and you've talked about all of these different positions: quarterback, wide receiver in football, playing baseball, getting involved in basketball. You've talked about all the instruments you play. All I hear is what you can do. What can't you do? What sport can you not play? And is there an instrument that you just cannot do? Like,
or that you want to, or like you're like, that's the next one.
Right. So for sports, I would say golf. Like I know sometimes
I can't do that either.
Sometimes I go to Top Golf, and it's just like it's so humbling when you go and you're like, oh, this is easy. I'm just gonna swing, and then it's just like
a baseball bat.
Right. So yeah, just a little swing, and then the ball is still there. Once I swing, it's like, oh, I just put all. I'm thinking it's ready to fly. But that's definitely for me. I don't know. I love golf, and I feel like it's such a calming sport to play. But if I can learn how to play that when I'm older, like that definitely be something I would want to do. Singing wise,
there's
or
a
not
lot of
singing
money
wise.
in it too.
Right, exactly. Music wise, I would say that's a good one, because I kind of try everything.
You don't strike me as a tuba guy.
Nah, I'm not a tuba guy.
Any horns?
I would, since you say that, I would say brass. Yeah, I kind of can play trumpet a little bit, but like the trumpet, the saxophone.
I was gonna say sax when you're talking about like gospel soul. I feel like that would fit really well.
Is such a jazzy instrument to me, and I could just never. I never was able to, really master that. And it's not that I can't now, but, that's just something. It's like, man, like I wish I could play the saxophone. I wish I could play the trumpet.
I think we all do.
Right. But you kind of disappoint me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. You got way too much talent to not intertwine this. You should have your own walk-up song for baseball, and I haven't heard it.
Oh. Right.
And if you did have a walk-up song, either that you created or let's just say it's something that's already out there in the ether, what would you walk up to?
That's a great question. Somebody just asked me that as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because they were like,
top of mind. Then.
Right. They were like, well, oh, like if
season's almost over.
Right. So I would say, So off my latest album, I have a song called "Make a Way," and it's not even the words to this song that really I like so much, but the beginning of the song is like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like
you know what? You don't even have to. If you could sing like a little bit of the beginning.
Oh, there we go.
So it's really a really simple song. It literally just says, "I know you're gonna make a way, I know you're gonna make a way. So it's literally that the same the whole time, but the beat and like the feeling that song gives you is definitely something that I don't know. I feel like I could just walk up to that with some swag and like that would definitely get me
does
hyped
sound
up.
like the right walk up.
So I would say Make a Way off of my newest album. You Gotta Know the Deluxe. Y'all go check that out if y'all don't mind.
There you go.
But
we're gonna album drop, name drop here.
Yeah,
you're welcome to do that.
So I would say Make a Way. That's definitely something I would walk up to. But now that you say that, I feel like I have to make that my walk up song. So I'm gonna definitely give it
one spin before the end of the year, just to see how it goes. Yeah.
I got you for sure.
You got a couple games left. What's the future hold for you?
So of course, Decision Day was today. So I will be taking my all of my many talents that God has gifted me with to ODU. So I plan to major in sound recording technology. So I'll basically just be living like a producer. So they have like this brand new music studio that they just made. So as a sound recording technology person, I'll be able to kind of just sit in on different producers and kind of just see how songs are made, which is kind of what I've been doing already, but kind of being able to go into like really in depth and just kind of learn and glean from different people who have already done it and are in the shoes that I want to be in. But also, like I definitely don't think sports is over for me. So I would say, maybe if you see me on the football field at ODU, like don't be surprised if you see me wherever it may be, if it's a long snapper, receiver, quarterback, I don't know. But I would say other than that, definitely be on the lookout for new music. I feel like I'll never stop making music, whatever it is, however old I will be, because I don't know, music is just definitely something that has always brought joy to me, and it's definitely something that's come easy to me. So I definitely appreciate it and love doing it.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this: music, sports, academics. You got all three. We kind of put academics on the short end of the stick here, but. For people who don't realize the rigors that go involved in the ACA, tell us a little bit about that, National Honor Society. And again, this kind of goes back to how do you have time for your mind, both sides of your brain, when it comes to sports and music, but also on the academic side as well. Right.
So like you mentioned that for ACA, that's been definitely been a trying course for me and something that I've actually enjoyed and appreciate now that I'm in the predicament that I'm in. So I'll be graduating in literally 12 days with my associate's degree in business from J. Sargent Reynolds.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But that's something that's really big for me and something that I appreciate my parents really pushing me into. But Miss Siobhan, Artist of Black, Dr. Rogers, they've been great people. And they've definitely, helped me along the way, helped all of my classmates to be able to get to where we are now. And what I would say that helps me, manage all these things, definitely just my parents. My parents have always been my biggest advocate, and they've always just been there for me, whether it's like, taking me to a game, taking me to a practice, whatever it may be. It's just they've never ceased to amaze me in how much they can, help me out and just be able to be there for me, whether it's needing to talk or needing like a ride to school or something like that. So it's sometimes just the little things that they do, and it really goes a long way.
For people who don't know, explain Sarge a little bit, J. Sargent.
Okay, so I know some people think about J. Sargent and think we're like actually going to J. Sargent Reynolds, but it's a dual enrollment program. So sometimes we have online classes, sometimes we have professors come here. We have some in-school professors that teach here. But right now we are actually doing our exams. So we do go to J. Sargent Reynolds and take our exams. And, we still have proctors in there with us, doing those things. But J. Sargent Reynolds has definitely been a really fun thing for me, especially being able to be a college student in high school. So, sometimes you get those perks. Like, I could go to J. Sargent Reynolds whenever I want and, like have a tutor or have a study session for free. So those are some things that definitely help as far as the academic side. But then like even on like the student side, like they have a amazing student life center. They have an amazing recreational center. Nice. And just for it to be something up the road, like that's just somewhere I could go and just, chill with my friends if I wanted to.
And you get these credits that transfer over when you go to ODU that are already there, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
The final one for me is kids love music, kids love sports, and kids would love to be a recording artist, and kids would love to be a star quarterback or wide receiver. What would your advice be to them if they wanted to follow your footsteps a little bit?
My advice would be never be afraid to try something new. A lot of times people ask, how were you able to do so much? I would definitely say because I was always interested in doing more. I never tried to, settle or be content with where I was at. I always wanted to strive for more and do more. So I would definitely say always, go above and beyond in whatever you can do, whether it's, sports, whether it's music, whether it's academics, whatever it is, always strive for the best and always try to find someone to look up to. I feel like that was definitely a thing that helped me, not trying to think, oh, I'm like the best of the best. But when you find somebody that's there and then you get to their level, you find somebody else who's higher than that. And it's just, I feel like it's an ongoing thing that just helps you always, reach your full potential, because I feel like you're never really at your full potential because you can always be better and do better in everything that you do.
And Christian, for me, first of all, I want to give a shout out to your mom who works down the road. She's one of the awesome employees at Fairfield Middle School. So always got to give a shout out to our Henrico people.
Well. That's right.
And the question I had is, when you look back, this is like putting you on the spot for our senior memories, kind of. When you look back at your years at Highland Springs, what are the things you're going to remember and take from your experience here? Sorry, we got the bell going.
Okay. So, of course, I always remember the sports and things like that. But I think one thing I'll never forget from Highland Springs was just the feeling and the kind of the bragging rights to say I go here. Like, of course, like Highland Springs gets a picture painted and things like that. That is like a rough school, like a tough school to go to. But I feel like this is the best school in the county. Like, of course, that's me being biased because I go here and things like that.
Please do. Yeah.
But, I feel like just the staff we have here. The staff, like Dr. White does a great job of, just keeping the school run. Like, Dr. White's a great person. He's not a person that you can't find. Like, you can always find him in the hallways talking on his little microphone.
I see him every time I'm here, I swear.
Right. So Dr. White is always around, even if you want to just say what's up to him, say what's up to Harry Lee, who else? Coach Johnson. I mean, it's so many people to name. Like, it's kind of hard. But these people that, help you out and things like that are definitely people that you'll never forget. So I'll definitely always appreciate Highland Springs for the connections that they've given me and just the experience that they've given me. It's something that I'll never forget it for sure.
Yeah, you're not the first. I've heard from several athletes that have talked about a lot of administrators here, whether it's Coach Johnson or your principal, that they're more than just their role. They care about what's going on in your life. And
it's really obvious when you hear about the connections and stuff they built here.
Absolutely. So I want to give you a chance, and this is for me selfishly so I can purchase your albums, but name drop your 3 albums you got out there.
So my first album was, oh gosh, you really put me on the spot. So first album was I Believe. So that was, I think, published in maybe 2020. I don't want to get these dates wrong, but I know the first one is I Believe. The second one was You Gotta Know. And then I made a deluxe album with 3 more songs entitled You Gotta Know, the deluxe edition.
Which one do I have to have?
I would say the deluxe edition.
Most You Gotta Know. Buck. Yeah. And Spotify, Apple, all those
Spotify,
places.
Apple Music, SoundCloud, all digital outlets. So it's always there to listen to and listen to and hear.
Well, we'll keep up with you on Spotify, but we'll also keep up with whatever happens to you. We'll see you at graduation. I'm sure we'll hear you at graduation, and whatever comes, post Highland Springs, we'll be really excited to see.
Anything you're working on now?
Music wise, I definitely have some things I'm working on now as far as, production and things like that. I've been getting more into the studio side of music. So of course I have my MacBook and things like that, but I'm getting into like Logic Pro, all these DAWs, these softwares that I'm kind of learning and things like that. But I think the Wiz actually helped me with that as well, like running the audio and things like even things
different
like
perspective when you're helping other people perform.
Exactly. So it really it broadens your horizon. It shows like, hey, what if I could do this? What if instead of paying somebody to do this, I could learn how to do this myself and then make some money off of it. So I would definitely say, stay tuned for some. Even if I'm not the one singing, maybe I'll be producing some.
There you go.
Turning the knobs and making some money and making some big records, man.
So that's something I definitely look forward to and look to pursue in the next couple of years.
He is a super recording artist, musician. He is a sports phenom at football, basketball, track. Baseball, he is going to ODU. ODU is getting a good one. Mr. Christian Bolar, we appreciate you being part of the Sportswire Spotlight today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Yep.